Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today, we're diving into something that, let's be honest, gets to all of us. That constant struggle to just let go. We're going to look at how finding that freedom is both a surprising science and a deep spiritual practice.
You know, this simple but really profound idea from spiritual teacher Michael Singer, it gets right to the heart of so much of our daily suffering. It's not the traffic jam, it's not the email, it's not the comment from a coworker that's actually the problem. It's our internal reaction to it. It's the story we tell ourselves about it, right? So how do we stop bothering ourselves? Well, this explainer is going to offer a kind of roadmap. We're pulling from science, spirituality, and some seriously practical advice to show you that letting go isn't just one single action, it's a whole spectrum of powerful strategies. So to start, we really have to understand the source of all our anxiety. And it almost always comes back to that relentless desire to control everything. A desire that's driven by one thing, that constant, chattering voice inside our heads. I love this analogy. Spiritual teachers might call it the ego, psychologists the inner critic, but we all know that voice, don't we? It's like having a neurotic roommate living in your head who just never, ever shuts up. It narrates, it judges, and it worries about every single moment, creating these elaborate stories about how things should be instead of just accepting how they are. And this is where Michael Singer makes an absolutely crucial distinction. You are not your mind. You are the one who notices your mind. Realizing that separation, that's the first huge step toward freedom. You are the silent observer, not the neurotic roommate. And what does that roommate just love to do? It loves attachment. As speaker Aaron Doughty explains it, we get stuck when we attach our own sense of well-being to a very specific outcome. We tell ourselves we need that validation from others. We need that promotion. We need things to go exactly according to our plan. And that, right there, is the root of the control trap. Okay, so let's get real here, because we can't just flip a switch and turn that voice off, right? So what can we actually do? Well, the first step isn't about trying to control life itself. It's about controlling where we invest our most valuable and very limited resources. Let's start with the most practical, down-to-earth level of letting go. It's all about consciously deciding what actually deserves your energy and what really doesn't. So, author Sarah Knight reframes this entire idea into a simple and, let's be honest, very memorable concept: a fuck budget. Just think about it for a second. Every single day, you only have a finite amount of time, energy, and money to spend. It's not an infinite resource. So, where's it all going? She calls this the not sorry method, and it is just beautifully simple. Step 1, you identify the things that drain your resources but bring you absolutely no joy. Step 2, you just stop giving them your time, your energy, and your money. This is all about using a bit of honesty and politeness to basically declutter your life. It means saying no to things that just annoy you so that you have more for the things that actually matter. It's just strategic allocation of your most precious assets.
Now, this is a really important point that author Mark Manson clarifies. This is not about becoming some indifferent person who cares about nothing. No, it's the exact opposite. It's about caring more about the right things by consciously choosing to care less about all the stuff that just doesn't serve you.
Okay, so once we've started to manage our external world a little better, the next level is to go deeper. We move from what's happening around us to what's happening within us. So many of us are taught, especially in high-stress jobs or environments, that turning off our feelings is a sign of strength, of being a professional. We learn to push down the anger, the anxiety, the sadness, just so we can function.
But you know, this whole approach, it has a really dark side. Research from the Greater Good Science Center shows a pretty dangerous connection. It turns out that professions that actively encourage this kind of emotional suppression, think law enforcement, medicine, the military, they often report the highest rates of clinical distress, and that includes things like suicide and substance abuse. That suppression comes at a terrible cost.
So what's the alternative? Well, science actually points towards acceptance. Practices like mindfulness train us to just observe our emotions without judging them, to feel them fully, and then to let them pass. And this leads to better sleep, improved performance, and way stronger relationships. You let go by just letting them be. And this brings us to an even more radical take. The philosopher David Hawkins actually suggested that to truly let go of an emotion, you have to let go of your resistance to it. So his advice for someone who worries all the time, try actively embracing it. Like schedule time to worry. Worry so hard that the energy behind it just runs out. You're surrendering to the feeling itself. And this brings us to the final, and maybe the deepest, level of letting go. This isn't just about budgeting your energy or accepting an emotion. This is about surrendering control over the entire direction of your life.
So after a really profound spiritual awakening, Michael Singer went into seclusion. He was absolutely determined to find inner peace, and he was trying to do it through intense self-discipline and meditation, basically trying to force his mind into being silent.
But then he had this massive breakthrough. He realized that all his intense effort to find peace, it was just his ego again, trying to control everything. So he completely flipped the script. Instead of trying to force his own will on the world, he started this experiment in surrender. He would just say yes to whatever life presented to him, no matter how weird or illogical it seemed.
And here's where the story gets kind of wild. A sheriff just randomly shows up on his land and asks him, this is a guy in spiritual seclusion, mind you, to do a construction job. Now, Singer's mind is screaming, no! But his commitment was to surrender. So, he said yes. And that single yes started a chain reaction that led him to start a construction company, learn how to code, and eventually become the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar medical software company. Just incredible.
His story is amazing because it shows that surrender isn't about giving up or being passive. It's an active, engaged trust that maybe, just maybe, life's flow has a better plan than your own anxious mind could ever come up with. By letting go of his plan, he stumbled into a life that was way more successful and peaceful than anything he could have engineered on his own.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on. We spend so much of our energy resisting, planning, and fighting against the current of our lives. But what if those very obstacles, the things we are fighting so hard against, are actually pointing us in the right direction? What if that's the path? Maybe, just maybe, the greatest freedom we can find comes not from winning our battles, but from recognizing we don't even need to fight them in the first place.